What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we have some unfortunate news as undefeated welterweight Mexican superstar title contender Vergil Ortiz Jr., 19 wins, no loss, no draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. He was scheduled to face off against welterweight title contender in star boxer in April 29th, but Vergil Ortiz, he suffered blood clots or blood issues once again. That's going to see him removed from the fight April 29th against Eimantas Stanionis. So now that leaves this man here, undefeated, welterweight, superstar, title contender, Jaron Boots Ennis, the phenom as I call him. Jaron Boots Ennis, could he fill in? Jaron Ennis is 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout, 25 years of age, 5'10" with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, could he fill in? He fought October 7th in Washington, D.C., and his father trainer manager, Bozy Ennis, was saying that they were looking to headline a card in Atlantic City on the boardwalk. Now, this is a fight that they was calling for. It looked like this was a fight that they was going to eventually make. Okay, and that was a fight between Jaron Ennis and Eimantas Stanionis, who's 14 wins, no loss and no draw, 9 wins by way of knockout, 28 years of age, 5'8" with a 68-inch arm reach. April 29th, Vergil Ortiz versus Eimantas Stanionis was supposed to happen. But once again, for the second time, Vergil Ortiz has issues and with his blood, and now is going to be pulled from a fight. It's ironic because initially this fight with Stanionis was supposed to happen, but Stanionis was the one that got sick, and he was the one that had to postpone the fight. And now Vergil Ortiz, this is the second go-round for Vergil Ortiz because he went on a hiatus when he was supposed to fight, and he got suffered this blood injury, and he was pulled from the fight, right? And he had to sit out, and everybody wondered what was going on with Vergil Ortiz. There was even people that was concerned that his career may be over, right? And now this man's Stanionis, who suffered a illness and had to be pulled from the fight, the initial fight date, it got postponed to April 29th, and now Stanionis is looking for an opponent. Now, Jaron Boots Ennis stays in tip-top shape. He's always in shape, okay? He's always, ready to go. But this fight is around the corner. April 29th is exactly a month away. So I would believe that if they're going to have Jaron Boots Ennis possibly fill in for Eimantas Stanionis, which I thought this was the fight that should be made from the very beginning. But Jaron Boots Ennis fill in for Eimantas Stanionis, for Vergil Ortiz to fight Eimantas Stanionis would be huge. Now, they dropped Jaron Boots Ennis from these ranking systems. He's dropped from the WBO ranking system. He's dropped from the WBA ranking system. He's the International Boxing Federation interim champion. So he's the mandatory for the IBF, but now it should just boil down to the best fighting the best, period. Never mind the politics within the sport of boxing. It should just simply come down to the best fighting the best, which is Jaron Boots Ennis versus Eimantas Stanionis. Now, I'm sure the WBA, they'll find a way to come up with somebody in the ranking system to replace Vergil Ortiz on short notice instead of having Jaron Boots Ennis as the man, to replace Stanionis, which only makes sense. But when it makes too much sense in the sport of boxing, it's simply never going to happen. So with that said, when you look at these ranking systems, okay, Jaron Ennis is the #1 challenger in the International Boxing Federation's interim champion. So that's why he was simply dropped from the other ranking systems, okay? But if you look at these ranking systems and you have to say to yourself, who was going to be the next man up, okay, in the WBA system? Keith Thurman is in position. So if Errol Spence is going to ride a fight in Terrence Crawford, then we could see Keith Thurman versus Eimantas Stanionis, right? Yordenis Ugas is on the verge of fighting Mario Barrios. Butev is there. Okay. So we could possibly see Butev, who already fought Eimantas Stanionis and he lost to Eimantas Stanionis, right? We could possibly see a rematch, right? Is that a possibility? Who knows, right? Nonetheless, I'm hard pressed to see that Jaron, Ennis, and Stanionis get the fight, because that just makes too much sense. That makes way too much sense, right? And it just should happen. When it makes too much sense, again, in the sport of boxing, it's just simply not going to happen. So, Mario Barrios and Yordenis Ugas is getting ready to fight one another. Cody Crawley, he just fought. So who knows on short notice? Rashidi Ellis, he lost. Okay, Rashidi Ellis lost, and he's in the IBF rankings. Jaron Ennis is, and I told you guys, he's the IBF regular interim champion. So he was dropped. So who knows who they'll come up with to replace, who knows who they'll come up with to replace Vergil Ortiz down the line, because this is a fight that they ordered on top of it. They ordered Vergil Ortiz versus Eimantas Stanionis, which was completely shocking to me that they even ordered this fight, because at the end of the day, Vergil Ortiz is in the ranking system, for, the other sanction body. So he was number one in the WBC. He was number one in the WBO. And he was ranked, I believe, 1 or 2 in the WBA. And then they ordered this fight, okay? It should just now simply come down to the best fighting the best. That's ultimately what this should come down to, is us getting the best, fighting the best. Never mind the politics, the ranking system. Right now, it should be Jaron Ennis versus Eimantas Stanionis, point blank and period. Okay? Yes, Stanionis is the WBA regular champion and Boots is the interim IBF champion. It should be the politics removed, and we should have the best fighting the best. Jaron Ennis versus Eimantas Stanionis, period. And why can't you absorb the same status, right? Because if Errol Spence was to fight Terrence Crawford, right, he picks up the WBO strap. So if Jaron Ennis beats, he's the interim champion for the IBF. If he beats Eimantas Stanionis, he's the IBF interim and the WBA regular champion. What's the difference? He's a unified, on the second tier, right? He's a unified regular champion. Put it that way. There should be no interim. Should IBF regular champion, IBF super champion, WBA regular champion, WBA super champion, so on and so forth, right? And so if Jaron Ennis beats Stanionis, well, now he's the WBA regular champion and he's the IBF regular champion. What's wrong with just allowing him to absorb the same status to make these big fights happen? Remove the politics, remove the roadblocks. Let's make it happen. The best fighting the best. Period. Right? Vergil Ortiz came from being the number one WBC, WBO ranked challenger to be the mandatory for the WBA regular title. Status. It's the politics within the sport of boxing. Let's remove the politics within the sport of boxing. Who cares if Jaron Ennis is the international regular IBF champion and Stanionis is the WBA regular champion? Neither one of them are the official champion, because Errol Spence holds the official belt for the IBF and Errol Spence holds the official belt for the WBA. So, and the mandatory is just a mandatory challenger for Errol Spence. Jaron Ennis is already the IBF mandatory challenger for Errol Spence, and Stanionis is going to be the WBA regular champion mandatory for Errol Spence. So what's the difference? If Jaron Ennis beats, and if Jaron Ennis was to fight for the IBF mandatory position, guess what he's also fighting for? The WBA super title. If Stanionis fights Errol Spence, he's going to be fighting for the IBF and the WBA. So what difference does it make if Jaron Ennis is the IBF international champion and Stanionis is the WBA regular champion? They're both the mandatory challenger for Errol Spence, who holds both of the super titles. So what difference does it make? You put these two fighters together, the fighter is going to be the mandatory for Errol Spence anyway in his titles. Period. So it makes no difference if Jaron Ennis fights and beats Stanionis or vice versa, because they're both in line to fight the same person. They got something in common. Errol Spence. They just taking different routes to get to Errol Spence. Period. They all going to the same place. Errol Spence Jr. So we could put these two fighters together and remove the politics. Point blank and period. So that's all I got for y'all, man. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share the videos. That's all I got for y'all, man. Who do you want to see Eimantas Stanionis fight? Do you still want to see him fight April 29th against a short replacement? Or do you want to see him fight against Jaron Boots Ennis in a massive fight headlining in the